Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast, where East meets West to explore the small daily rituals that quietly shape our energy, memory, and health as we age. It's Monday, and today's episode is about something most of us never think twice about: what happens to your blood sugar while you sleep. If you're over 60 and dealing with stubborn weight, low energy, or restless nights, the problem might not be what you're eating during the day. It could be what's missing in your bedtime routine. New research out of Japan and other leading universities is revealing a surprising link between sleep patterns and rising diabetes rates in older adults. What's most alarming is that the warning signs often show up at night, quietly, without symptoms. To help us unpack this, we're joined once again by a true icon of longevity. Over 100 years old, still walking daily, still showing up in the studio to share wisdom, guide minds, and help shape the future of healthy aging. Japan's oldest practicing physician, Dr. Shigeki Hinohara. Doctor, it's an honor. Thank you, Dr. Grant. It's always a pleasure to be here. I've spent my life studying how small daily choices shape our long-term health, and sleep is one of the most overlooked. What happens during those quiet hours, especially after 60, has more impact than most people realize. And it's often the things we don't notice or think are harmless that cause the most trouble over time. Before we get into the details, Doctor, today you brought us 5 nighttime habits, right? 5 things that people over 60 do without thinking that could quietly raise their risk of blood sugar issues and even diabetes over time. I'll go through one by one, the common mistakes, the science behind them, and what to do instead. And I hear the last one is the most overlooked and maybe the most powerful. So stick with us to the end, because it's the one thing that changes how you sleep and how you age. So let's start at the top. What's one of those harmless habits you see all the time? The first mistake that puts people over 60 at risk without them even realizing. The first one is surprisingly common, and it's skipping your evening meal or eating far too early. Many people stop eating around 5 or 6 p.m. thinking it's a healthy habit. But after 60, that long overnight fast can actually backfire, especially if your sleep isn't deep or consistent. Right? So you're saying that not eating late, which so many people believe is better for digestion or weight control, could actually harm your blood sugar. Exactly. As we age, insulin sensitivity declines. That means your body isn't as efficient at handling blood sugar. When you go too long without food, especially overnight, your blood sugar can dip too low. In response, your body triggers a stress response, releasing cortisol to bring levels back up. That middle of the spike can raise blood pressure, interrupt deep sleep, and gradually lead to insulin resistance. That's fascinating and honestly counterintuitive, because I know a lot of people feel like no food after 6 is a gold standard. But you're saying it's about balance, not rigidity. Precisely. I had one patient, a retired professor, who did everything by the book. Early dinners, no snacks. Early bedtime. But she was waking up between 2 and 3 a.m. every night, restless and foggy the next morning. Her blood work showed signs of prediabetes. We introduced a small, balanced snack at night, a few nuts, a spoon of yogurt, or a piece of boiled egg. Within a week, her sleep improved. Within a month, her fasting glucose dropped. So the fix is simple. Don't go to bed hungry. After 60, stability matters more than restriction. A gentle, nutrient-rich snack in the evening can support both sleep and metabolism. That really reframes the whole conversation around food timing, because we usually think of diabetes prevention as something that happens during the day. What you eat for breakfast, lunch, maybe cutting sugar, but what you're saying is that nighttime and how you end the day might be just as important. So let's keep going. What's habit number 2? What else are people doing in those evening hours that could be quietly working against their blood sugar? Habit number 2 is one people almost never associate with blood sugar, but it plays a massive role, and that's inconsistent sleep timing. Going to bed at 9 one night, midnight the next, waking early one day, sleeping in the next. These irregular patterns throw off your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm, and that directly affects how your body processes glucose. Interesting. So even if someone's eating well, exercising, and getting enough sleep overall, just shifting their bedtime around could still increase their risk. Exactly. Think of your metabolism like a symphony. When your sleep timing is erratic, the instruments start playing out of sync. Your cortisol, melatonin, and insulin rhythms all misalign. That confusion makes your body less efficient at using insulin, even if your diet hasn't changed at all. That's something a lot of people overlook. We treat sleep like it's flexible, like as long as we catch up later, we're fine. And that's dangerous. A 2024 study published in German Network Open followed adults over 60 and found that those with the most irregular sleep patterns had a significantly higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Even if they got the same amount of sleep, my advice, pick a bedtime and stick to it. Even on weekends, create a gentle evening routine, wind down the same way each night, and aim to wake at a consistent time. You'll be amazed at how much steadier your energy and cravings feel during the day. It's amazing how something so small can have such a ripple effect. I'll be honest, I used to be guilty of this myself. On clinic days, I'd be in bed by 9:30, lights out, routine locked in. But on weekends, that could slip to 11:30, sometimes even midnight. And I'd always tell myself, it's fine, I'll catch up on rest tomorrow. But I started noticing something, those late nights, even with 7 or 8 hours of sleep, I'd wake up groggier, hungrier, more likely to reach for carbs mid-morning. And I just chalked it up to stress. But what you're saying really connects the dots. It's not just about the hours. It's the rhythm, the regularity. So this isn't just about improving sleep quality. It's about metabolic stability, using sleep as a tool to support blood sugar, hunger signals, and long-term health. That's a shift in how we think about aging. All right, let's keep going. What's the third habit on your list? We've talked about late night fasting and irregular sleep schedules. What's next on the list of hidden threats? Habit number 3 is one most people never suspect: going to bed mildly dehydrated. As we age, our sense of thirst dulls. Many older adults drink less in the evening to avoid nighttime bathroom trips. But when you go to sleep dehydrated, your blood becomes slightly thicker. That small change can impact blood flow, especially to the brain and the heart. It also affects how insulin moves through the body. That's surprising. I think a lot of people would assume drinking less at night is actually a good thing, just to avoid waking up. And that's the trap. Even mild dehydration has been shown to impair glucose metabolism. Over time, it increases the risk of insulin resistance. Your kidneys, your liver, and all the organs that help regulate blood sugar need hydration to function well. So what's the balance? We don't want to be running to the bathroom at 3 a.m. Sure, here's the corrected version with appropriate paragraph breaks. Exactly. Not saying you should drink a gallon of water before bed. That would keep you up all night. But a small glass, maybe herbal tea or warm water, 60 to 90 minutes before sleep. That can support healthy circulation, help your body balance blood sugar more effectively, and improve overnight detoxification. One of my patients, retired carpenter, had rising blood sugar despite a good diet. We traced it back to chronic flow, hydration. He never felt thirsty. Once we added small, regular hydration through the day, and especially a warm mug of tea in the evening, his numbers began to shift, and he was sleeping better too. That's such a simple shift, but so powerful, and it makes sense. I've had patients tell me they don't want to drink after dinner because of bathroom interruptions, but they never consider what that quiet dehydration is doing to their body overnight. Let me know if you'd like any further adjustments. And honestly, I felt that too. On nights where I skip my usual tea or forget to hydrate, I wake up groggy, sometimes with a bit of a headache. It never clicked that even mild dehydration could be interfering with blood sugar or circulation. All right, doctor, we've covered food timing, sleep rhythm, and hydration. What's habit number 4? Habit number 4 is one that's been normalized by modern life, and that's screen exposure before bed. Watching television, scrolling on your phone, checking email. These habits don't just affect your sleep. They also disrupt key hormones that regulate blood sugar. Your body uses light as a signal. Blue light from screens, especially in the hour before sleep, suppresses melatonin production. But melatonin does more than help you fall asleep. It's involved in glucose regulation too. Disrupted melatonin rhythms have been linked to higher fasting glucose and a greater risk of type 2 diabetes. In one study from Harvard Medical School, participants exposed to bright light before bed had significantly reduced insulin sensitivity the next morning, even after just one night. That's how quickly the body reacts. I always tell my patients the light you allow in your eyes at night shapes your hormones. By morning, after 60, the system becomes more fragile. The same late night screen habits that once felt harmless can now leave your metabolism overstimulated and your sleep shallow. Instead, try this. 1 hour before bed, shut off bright screens, use dim lighting, read a physical book, listen to calming music. Let your body ease into its natural nighttime rhythm. Your blood sugar will thank you in the morning. That one really hits home. I think a lot of people, myself included, fall into that trap, thinking I'm just relaxing with my phone or I need to unwind with a show before bed. But when you break it down like that, how the light is literally disrupting our hormones, it changes the way you see those habits. And it makes me wonder how many people are waking up tired, groggy, or even craving sugar the next day without realizing it started with their screen the night before. It's not just about willpower or breakfast choices. It's about what your body was told to do overnight. All right. Doctor, you promised us 5 habits and said the last one might be the most overlooked of all. Most of us, including me, have been waiting to hear for the entire episode. What's the final nighttime mistake that people over 60 need to know about? Habit number 5 is something I see across the world, and it's going to be in a state of mental tension, worry, rumination, overthinking. It might not seem connected to blood sugar, but it's deeply linked. Chronic stress, even low-grade anxiety before bed, raises cortisol, and cortisol, as we've said, pushes blood sugar higher. Now imagine this happening night after night. You go to bed feeling mentally wired, replay the day, worry about tomorrow, fall asleep late, or sleep lightly. Your cortisol stays elevated. Your blood sugar doesn't reset. Over time, this creates a subtle form of metabolic wear, and for people over 60, it ends up fast. That's fascinating. So it's not just physical stress, like inflammation or pain, but also psychological tension that's keeping blood sugar elevated. Exactly. And it doesn't need to be a crisis. It can be something as small as an unfinished task, a frustrating conversation, or checking the news right before sleep. These things turn your nervous system into a fight or flight state, even if you're lying still in bed. When cortisol is elevated, insulin becomes less effective. That makes me think about those quiet moments at night when everything's off, but the mind keeps spinning. A lot of people think that's normal, but what you're saying is it's a metabolic event. Yes, and the brain and body are deeply connected. If the mind doesn't rest, the body doesn't restore. And I had a patient, a retired school teacher who couldn't figure out why her blood sugar was creeping up. despite a perfect diet. We look closer at her evenings. She was watching crime dramas, reading the news, answering emails in bed. Once we replaced that with 15 minutes of gentle stretching and journaling, her morning glucose dropped by nearly 20 points. The fix isn't complicated. Create a wind down routine just like you would for a child. Soothing music, low lights, no screens, gentle movement or breathing. Write down your thoughts so they don't circle in your head. What you give your nervous system before sleep shapes how your body heals at night. That really brings it all together across all 5 habits. It's clear. It's not just what you do, but how you signal to your body before sleep, from food and light to movement and thought. Every input either supports your blood sugar or silently disrupts it. And most people never realize that insulin resistance often begins in the quiet of the night, long before it shows up on a lab report. Doctor, before we wrap up, can you leave us with one final thought, one line that sums up everything we've talked about today? Your body listens while you sleep. Every small choice before bed, what you eat, how you breathe, what you think becomes a message to your cells. If you send calm, balance, and rhythm, the body restores itself. But if you send chaos, the damage begins quietly, and often you won't notice until it's too late. There are no better words to say than that. Thank you, doctor, and thanks to all of you for listening again. We love the support, and we would appreciate it if you would like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. We wish all of you a long and healthy life. At the top of the comments, there is a link for a voluntary donation for those who want to show some love so we can improve our content. Sure, here's your text with corrected spelling and divided into appropriate sections. Conservadown estic, H&B. Dwie mujtabiti kwa biantinga, Conservadown estic, H&B. Dwie mujtabiti kwa biantinga, Conservadown estic, H&B. Dwie mujtabiti kwa biantinga, Conservadown estic, H&B. See